Hello everyone, Marcus here, and welcome to another episode of our podcast with Growth Mentor. Today I had the pleasure to talk to JP Bisson. JP is the CEO of Geonode, but he has a huge history of creating products and startups, and this conversation was just stellar. It's full of little tips and tricks and a lot of good advice that you are going to love. So I'm not going to talk too much about the conversation. I'm just going to let you listen to it. So just go ahead and enjoy. Welcome back. All right, cool. So we sort of literally on air. So how you doing, brother?
All right.
How's life?
I'm doing well. Thanks for reaching out.
Well, thank you for coming because I really wanted to talk. First of all, we did talk a little bit before start recording, and I'm very impressed, man. You're doing tons of things, and a lot of these things they require a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money. But before we get into all of the struggles as a founder, just tell me a little bit more. I know you're leading Geonode right now, plus other projects, but I want to hear from you. So just tell me what's JP on these days.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, we do a lot, and it's not by design. It's a bit happenstance that this happens. But now, I mean, we're definitely focused on Geonode, and that's what we see as definitely our growth and for the foreseeable future. So I had to wind down other projects that were actually profitable, but or like some that were on the way to becoming profitable. But it's just I feel like every time I've tried to achieve too many things at the same time, it's like chasing a bunch of rabbits. You don't catch any.
I know the feeling.
So that's what's happening now.
When did you start founding? Like your founding adventure, right? When was the first time you decided, well, I'm going to create my own company?
I'm pre like internet. I mean pre digital nomading, not pre internet. But I started when I was 16. I'm also 40, by the way. So right. So I've been around the block a couple of times.
It's a cool age. It's a cool age.
16 was not an internet business. It was a landscaping business. And that's a fancy name to say that we were cutting grass in Ottawa. Yeah, I mean, so exactly. It was called Shortcut Services, your lawn's best friend, student owned and operated. And we would put ads in classified sites and say that we handle any kinds of jobs, any kinds of odd jobs, etc. And people would call us and just say, hey, do you guys do this? Like eaves droughts or like cleaning, which is basically cleaning the gutters. Being French Canadian, these are names like words that I had never learned. So people will call and say, "Do you do this?" We say, "Yeah, we do this." Say, "Okay, can you come for a quote?" Then what we would do, we would call competitors, see how much they charge, etc. And then we would just always undercut.
And that was the time that it was all over the phone. It was not like, let me Google it.
It was classified ads called the penny saver. We would put ads in the penny saver, and we would get a bunch of calls because of that, because people wanted to support students. So I ended up hiring a bunch of my friends, buying some machinery. I did that 3 summers in a row through the beginning of university, and that was the start.
What was your first sort of digital venture? Like, what was the sort of like when you that moment where you say like, well, I want to create an app or a solution or software? When that came along?
Yeah. So the first one was I started so I started selling beach style jewelry. I don't know if you remember, there was a time where like these coconut earrings were really popular.
Yep, I do remember.
And these like shells and etc. So I went on an exchange in Thailand, and I supported myself for a year there, and I was dead broke coming back. But the idea of going back to Ottawa, doing a normal job was horrific to me for the summer. So I said to a friend of mine, if you send me some money, I'll buy a huge amount of this, because that's where they make it in Thailand. And we ended up setting up some kiosks in the markets and everything. And at the end of that summer, there was a guy that had a kiosk next to mine, because we were doing a shopping mall at the time, and he was selling teeth whitening products, which were basically like a mouthpiece that you would, but this is pre-Crest white strips, any of that stuff. So I said, wow. And his kiosk was so busy, and I wanted to be in business with that guy. He was just like a bit older, maybe like 15 years older. looked like he had his, everything figured out basically. And I ended up taking his business online. It was called USmile. But I also did it in shopping malls for a while. I ended up becoming 50-50 partners with them.
Oh, wow.
So that was like my first touch of the internet. And in shopping malls, it didn't work that well because we were underfunding it. And if they're trying to sell something that people put in their mouth, one, you need to be able to demo if you're selling in shopping malls. And we couldn't demo. And second, we ran like promotions like have a white Christmas for Christmas and stuff like this.
You see, I love when the whole marketing vibes start coming in. It's like, all right, we need to figure out fun ways to sell this.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I live and breathe that stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of failures along the way. That was one of them. It had some lift, but not the lift I wanted. After that, I started this little product called Orthofill. And basically, I saw that there was some websites that were selling these like elastic to close people's teeth gaps, basically. Okay. And I started that, but instead of making it like a really crappy brand, I gave it like a proper brand, etc. I ended up we were selling for like $35 with shipping, and I was selling about 20 of them per day. So that was like, and it was basically all profit. So I was like, early 20s, making like $500 to $700 profit per day, and just like no overhead. Like, and I decided to go backpack through South America because it was the dead of winter in Canada, and it just sounded like a better way to spend my time. That
definitely sounds better than winter in Canada for sure.
Yeah, so this was like pre 4-hour work week and stuff like this. So when I read the 4-hour work week, I was like, wow, there's other people out there that do this. It's amazing. I love it.
Eventually, I need to figure that out. I read it a couple of times, to be honest, but I still not organized myself enough to follow the rules.
Yeah, I mean, rules are meant to be broken.
Exactly. So let me bring it back to sort of nowadays, because I heard from our head of growth. I was like, look, you need to talk to JP. Like, he's a cool dude. Like, he's doing tons of stuff, and he's becoming to a mentor for some things. So before I talk about the relationship that eventually you created with Growth Mentor, when you become a founder, right? Like you and it happened to me before too. You want to know everything. You want to show your team, or you want to show that you know the path. Because after all, is your role is, well, I'm the captain. I'm just going to guide the ship. Everybody has different roles, but you're guiding the ship. But eventually you do find these little moments that you sort of get lost, or you need the extra help. So how as a founder, like how was your sort of encounter with failure and with saying to yourself, like, look, I cannot figure this out myself. I need help. Like how do you manage to face that moment?
I mean, okay. There's so many micro decisions that you need to make while you're growing a business, from inception all the way through scaling up and beyond. So they're not like they're not like real bottlenecks that generally like prevent everything from working. They're usually things that hinder the optimized way that you could be running things. So there are all these micro things that, and you don't know what you don't know. And especially with things moving so quickly, I'm connected with a lot of people already on LinkedIn, etc. So I see, things about rev ops and things. It's like they're all like whole fields that take care of revenue operations, how you should optimize these things. I didn't even know that rev ops was a thing.
It was a thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all these things that you hear this, and it kind of sounds like if you're a founder, you should know everything, but you don't. So, and then you're like, well, maybe I should know this, know that. So you don't know what these potential levers of growth are. So how I deal with it, usually I have some friends that are also founders, so we talk a lot. But now for the last 4 years, I've been in Portugal. And as you can see, maybe from the background, I'm in the middle of an orange plantation in the middle of Portugal. So the amount of internet or tech entrepreneurs that I speak to on a day-to-day is extremely limited. So that's where Growth Mentor actually came into play. I found it because I have a friend that wanted to build it for the Shopify space, and he's like, I'm trying to build something like Growth Mentor. And then I went to see Growth Mentor, and I was like, this is interesting. So I signed up, and it just basically ticked all the boxes. Actually, like not a commercial plug for Growth Mentor. I know it's for the podcast, but it's a lot of value for like, because a lot of the decisions that I've made, or several of the decisions that I've made as of late, including focusing fully on Geonode, comes from some of these conversations that I've had on there. So it, if you use it properly, because a lot of these conversations I go in, potentially it's not for things that I'm stuck on, but sometimes it's I want to talk to other entrepreneurs that have been around the block or have done B2B, which Geonode is, where I've mostly done B2C, and I'm like, what am I missing here? Like, what is it that I'm not doing on my day-to-day that I should be doing?
There's sort of like a little bit of comparing notes. It's like, so
it's completely
I'll show you mine, you show me yours.
It's exactly comparing notes. Because I've done business so many times. I've raised money for a previous startup while I was in the Philippines. I'm not like asking these I guess questions that are really like beginner level, I guess, or so I also, like, these mentors like to engage on more complex problems. So it's also quite engaging both ways, I think.
Because at least in my experience, I remember also. I mean, I'm part of the mentors too, and calls that I will have no answers. It's like, look, this is my plan. I have a marketing strategy to go this way and that way, and like, what do you think? I'm like, well, to be honest, test it. I don't know. Like, it sounds great, but what can I say? Obviously, if you see something that is extremely wrong, you might be like, well, no, don't do that, right? But otherwise, sure, it's great to get to sit down and all right, well, that's what you're doing? Okay, because this is what I will do. I'm not telling you to do this, but maybe focus on this. So I think the value is in that conversation, right? You're talking to people one-on-one, people like you.
Mm-hmm. And that's mentorship. I mean, mentorship is not... you're not looking for a boss or a manager to tell you what to do. A mentor points you in a direction that you might have not thought about, doesn't tell you to go there. So I like that type of relationship with people, because it's like talking to friends, but that friend just happens to be an expert at X that you're actually struggling with. So how do you tackle? Because
you told me some of your companies. I mean, you had like 70 people or more, eventually in some of them. But how do you try to include mentorship into what you do with them? I was like, how not just yourself. Like, how do you sort of embrace mentorship into the company culture, if you do that?
Yeah, I've tried to do it with mixed results, because I bought a team account. And then it's kind of like you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So for me, I've completely integrated doing the mentorship calls within my normal work week. There's not one call that I've had where I'm like, oh, that was wasted. That was time wasted. Because I I'll know what the person is an expert at, and definitely they'll know something that I don't. So I see always value in doing it. Whereas some people, they might think that, it's time that they could be spending working, where, it's kind of like the analogy of like you spend if you had like an hour to chop down a tree, spend 90% of it sharpening the axe. Yeah. So this is kind of like sharpening the axe in my perspective, but yeah, to convey that properly to people, because it's kind of a new habit that you're trying to form.
Yeah.
To have this like openness, transparency, to basically just open up the kimono and say, hey, this is it. I'm very transparent in all the calls. I'm with revenue numbers, everything. Hard.
You're talking to peers, right? That's
yeah.
I have
nothing. Exactly.
Now, as I found, you found a bunch of things. Well, I know about Geonode. We talked about Truly before. what is the main thing that you feel, not only in yourself, but I mean, you talk to a bunch of founders, you're related with a lot of other founders too. What do you think is the main thing that founders struggle with in the beginning?
Usually they have a solution looking for a problem. So people fall in love with their solution, and they don't do enough work identifying where the real problem is. So validation should be a step that is never overlooked, and you can't spend too much time on it. So that one is one that people really fall in love with whichever solution it might be, and they say, I have this great idea. It's not like I want to fix this problem. And most of the times the startups that identify the problem say it's a problem and it's not being served properly, it's not getting fixed by anybody in the right way, or it's an emerging problem because of intersection of technologies that are combining to create new problems that people are facing, and then they're not getting served properly. Anyway, so I think that's the main at the beginning.
When you move on, obviously forward, you create something, you create your brand, you create your company, you have this. Let's say you have the right solution, right? But sometimes the money is not there. How do you usually take the approach into with investors, for example? Like if you want to go and raise money, what are the sort of the tips or the tricks that you've been learning into, like, this is what they want to hear? Or do you do research before? Who are they? Like, you adapt your pitch into what they want to hear. Like, what are the ways that you found that they work great, or at least well, at least to get something when talking to investors?
Sure. I mean, I want to not talk to investors anymore. So like I'm bootstrapping everything now, and I've made money exiting my previous startup and stuff. So I have raised money in the past from different venture capital firms. I think it depends at the stage of the company. And the more if you're working on something that's actually getting stronger by the day, and you're going to reach some form of product market fit, potentially profitability with the cash that you have to defer raising money as much as possible, because you're differentiating yourselves in such big incremental ways with some of these milestones that might be a couple of months away. So in terms of like perspective of when to raise money, I would really be critical with that. In terms of what people want to hear, I mean, it's basically like size of market, size of the opportunity. Are you the right team to actually execute on this vision? How clear is the vision? How well, kind of like how well structured the founding team is. By what I mean by this is there a technical co-founder? If it's a technical problem that you're trying to solve, no technical co-founder, then you might be rotating through like lead developers a little bit too much, because there's not going to be that buy-in, etc. And sometimes the going gets tough in a startup. Then afterwards, it's there's different investors that are focused on different obviously stages, but also different industries. So it's just to try to do the groundwork of identifying that match. Yeah. So
and I really want to truly want to know more about Geonode, because I checked the website before our talk, because I knew about Truly, like I told you. I checked the website, and like you said, this is a B2B initiative, right? Like, what's Geonode really focusing on?
Yeah, sure. So Geonode came to be because of Truly. So Truly was my big vision, which I wanted to create this this fair review platform where we would analyze reviews from everywhere on the internet for products, pass it through sentiment analysis algos, and then actually rank products based on what people love the most, surface fake reviews so that we could take those out of the equation, and then with other algos show the pros and cons, take out the features, so that we could do a lot of analysis using AI. That would save people a lot of time. The vision was very valid, but to do this and to get all these reviews, etc., we had to build a lot of scraping technology, and we were spending a lot of money on proxies and stuff. And it got me curious about, like, what is this industry? And then we decided to start building our own internally, and we turned that into a brand. Just actually, it was a little bit opportunistic because we saw that the market was growing really quickly, etc. And I looked at the competitors. One, the pricing was really expensive, and two, basically it was badly served from like a user experience perspective. It's like an industry that's really like the rails, behind the scenes.
Yep.
A lot of people build price comparison, data analytics, SEO technology, everything on top of proxies, data collection, etc. So I saw that there was a big angle to play there with doing something that's a lot more user friendly, a lot more marketing oriented, etc., which I found that the companies were failing at that. So and then what happened is Geonode started making a lot more money than Truly, like a lot more and a lot quicker and a lot more easily. Truly was, it was like an uphill battle from the onset. So at one point, people were trying to speak reason into me because my wife was telling me that I should jump over and focus, but
they do that a lot. They like wives. They're always trying to keep you.
Yeah, big time. So that was kind of like I came to my senses because so we launched so for Geonode to source the proxies ethically, we launched an app called Repocket, and we have over 150,000 signups. So with this app, basically it's an app that you can install on your phone, on your computer, whatever, and we will buy back the unused bandwidth from your plan. So let's say you have like 100 gigabytes or 200 gigabytes in your home internet plan or unlimited. If you want to subsidize the cost of actually having your internet connection, we buy back the unused bandwidth. Hence the name Repocket. And I went to Web Summit, which is a conference last November, and I saw an app.
I was there.
Really?
If I would have known you before, man.
Cool, man.
It was good.
We would have went for a beer. Anyway, so I saw this app called Pinion app. It's an app in Brazil, and what they do is they do a lot of it's an app for micro tasks, but micro tasks in the real world. So basically they have millions of users in Brazil, and sometimes the government will pay them to do beach cleanup. So the idea is like, okay, if you're geographically close to this beach, you might make a couple of dollars or whichever is the amount that will get somebody motivated enough to go to the beach and do some cleanup. And then you unlock the challenge by your GPS on your phone, etc. A bit like Pokemon, like these like
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're looking for the task with the phone.
Exactly. And then you need to validate taking a picture of the trash that you'll have taken, etc. So there's a whole validation process. So this just basically opened my mind that Repocket could become really an app for people to earn money in many, many, many different ways. It's just like an app that you can make money passively in your pocket at whichever point. There's like micro tasking for everything, but like Fiverr, for instance, you need to apply, you need to market yourself, etc. But there's a lot of companies that are willing to say, hey, I need 1,000 people to do this. For instance, Uber in Brazil, they use this app to do price comparison between Uber and Lyft. So they'll say, open the app at a certain time for Uber and for Lyft, take a screenshot, upload it, and that's their task. We'll pay you for that. Uber, what they do obviously is they do price matching analysis, or and basically it's kind of the only way they can do this, or else they would have to infringe on a lot of terms and services, which, like creating a bunch of users. Yeah,
buying
exactly.
tons of phones.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the use cases are endless, and we were getting signups with very little marketing on Repocket, And here I was struggling with Truly, and it just was not lifting. And I started on Growth Mentor just because I was knocking my head against the wall, and I just couldn't figure it out. My ego was taking a shot for sure, and that's what turned me to this. But then, so that's basically the story, and that's why that's the focus. And now we're rebranding. We're changing the design of Repocket. It's going to be really cool, more fun, and we have big prospects for that. That's so we've separated the two Slacks for the two companies to. Again, I'm all about focus now, so it sounds because you're presenting it like I lower the plate. I do have a lot of ideas in business, but focus is key.
But that's cool. That's cool. Like I'm really this, and what really caught my attention is like when you were talking about Geonode, it's like the solution existed. You just added the element of like, well, if we do better marketing and better experience, you'll take the market, and
potentially. So we have one USP, which is we've launched an unlimited data. So basically, it's like the whole industry was like the cell phone and the internet plans of before, where you buy a certain amount of gigabytes and that's what you have. And then people came out with unlimited plans, which for 98% of users is unlimited. But then for that extra 2%, there's like a fair use policy if you're torrenting 24/7. So we basically did the same, which this is innovative within that. And that's what gives us all the growth that we've had as of late, because people, there's a lot of things. You have to do traffic modeling. You have to see fair use policy, where you should put your threshold. Plus you have to have access to very cheap bandwidth, which because of Repocket we do. So there's a lot of things that had to come together for us to be able to do this. Now we're going to focus a lot on that. But I agree with better UX in many industries, better UI, and a big focus on conversion. If you have a lot of new users coming to the market, they'll choose you because they don't have many points of reference. And if you're giving all the right signals, you look like the company to deal with. In proxies, it's not exactly the case, because it's kind of like this kind of service that sits in the back. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And you build your infrastructure on top, like the electricity company that you would deal with, or any of these. So, for you to change electricity companies, a company would have to come and give you something substantially differentiated or better to justify. So that's what, that's the struggle. That's why we have my business partner is like full-time on sales, built a sales team. We're scaling that. We're going to work with these kind of agencies that we pay per meeting that they set with decision makers like CTOs of big companies, etc. So there's a huge sales component to it.
The thing, you're right, because I remember this is back in 2001. I was backpacking in New Zealand, and I got a job trying to get companies to switch from one electricity company from the other one. And people was like, why? Why should I? So it's like, it's quite a struggle. I mean, it's people get too comfortable. So you really have to make a difference. And I think, definitely. I mean, unlimited, even if it's not unlimited per se, right? Like, I don't think how many people really use the full limit of it. Like, I don't do it in the phone, but just the little language and the little twitches like that. Like, this is my offering. It changes, I guess, a lot of things.
Because you don't want limitations in general. Like, even if your consumption's not going to change, the fact that it's a worry that you don't have to have. Like, it's like, okay, so bandwidth is not something like all of the problems that you have to solve in your life. Bandwidth just is not one of them anymore. So it feels like a solved problem.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
That's why it's more attractive.
So, JP, like, this conversation has been amazing, man. But I want to sort of close it with I always ask. I always have this episode 2, man. But still, I'm gonna make it my thing, right? So, what will you say to the founder that is struggling there with problems here and there? Like, what will be the best way? And I'm not trying to plug Growth Mentor here, but what will be the best way to look for help, to ask the right questions, and to go to the right people? Like, what would you recommend?
You're not alone. 1, 2, I think there's a wealth of knowledge in ChatGPT that is not used for help. So I actually use ChatGPT now as an extension of my mind, even. I gave it like our full business scenario, and I start asking away at it, and then I just keep going down the same thread, and the insights that come out of it, and it just unlocks some pearls of ideas. And then I ask it like, what are non-obvious ideas that how could we be different? And then it actually is pretty good at coming up with very creative things. It's just crazy the amount of knowledge that it was fed. So I think all of us are not even yet understanding how powerful it is. I mean, so that's one.
It's the common mind, I guess, eventually.
Crazy, man. It's crazy. It's anyways, that growth mentor for sure. I mean, or any mentorship, and find mentors. Growth mentor is a cool platform because, I mean, it's amazing that a lot of people are willing to do it for free. I mean, you pay for whatever the price is per month, which is negligible compared to the amount of free calls, etc., and the insights that come out of that. Yeah, but I mean, one, you're not alone. Two, don't make like calls with growth mentor or any of the learnings online or anything like this an excuse for not taking action. Because you can like, because like watching motivational videos or watching entrepreneur whatever podcast or listening to podcasts, it all feels potentially like work, but it's not work. You should be plugging away at your startup as hard and as often and as long as possible, and that's real work. Real work will feel like work at the beginning. Don't like if you love it, it's never gonna feel like work a day in your life and all this. I don't buy this. I mean, but you start to enjoy the struggle, and it's but yeah, I mean, if it's your first time being an entrepreneur, it's not made to be easy. Like if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So if it's hard, potentially you're doing something right.
Something right, exactly.
Too easy. If it's too easy, there's no value that you're creating. So yeah, if for those of you who are listening to this, thank you first of all, and second of all, yeah, I mean, reach out to me. I've been around the block, and yeah, I'd be willing to help as well.
I really want to stay with that last phrase, man. Like if it's too easy, it's probably not worth it.
It's probably not worth it. Like this whole idea, like that's why I'm not a real believer in crypto as an investment vehicle, more of a lottery ticket. Because like if you press somebody like properly and you ask them what's the actual value here, it's not the fact that somebody will buy it more expensive. Oh, man, that's like the name of a Ponzi.
I can do a whole podcast series about it, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
No. Fair enough.
But man, I just want to thank you so much for this conversation. I think there are a lot of really amazing nuggets in there that for not only for new people or early entrepreneurs or whatever, it's just for everybody. I mean, I'm taking a lot from this episode. So man, thanks a lot for this call. And I know you're in Portugal. I'll be seeing you over there, man. I'll come and visit and eat some oranges.
Con mucho gusto.
El placer es mío. Adios, man.
Adios. Ciao. Thank you.
So as you can see, this conversation was out of this world. I loved it. JP is an amazing person. And Michelle, our community manager in Growth Mentor, gave me an idea of doing a swoop. I had no clue what a swoop is, so I'm going to try to give it a shot. So welcome to the swoop. Swoop. Okay, so in the swoop, I'm going to try to put together all the things that I'm taking with me after this conversation. The first thing is you need to have an entrepreneurial soul if you want to get into this startup journey. You don't need to be afraid of asking for help. You're never going to have all the answers. So go ahead, make sure, fail safe, and go and ask for help when you need to. Also, when choosing a mentor, don't think your mentor is going to provide you with all of the answers. The mentor is there sometimes just to compare notes, just to listen to it, just to say, yeah, that's the way you should do it. One of the other things that I really love is when JP mentioned that if it feels easy, it probably doesn't have a big impact. That's something I'm definitely remembering for my own future. And the last thing, which the way we closed the conversation, was about you're not alone. This journey is not a unique journey. It's unique for each one of you guys, I guess, but there's so many common things that people are going through when they get into the startup world. So you're not alone into this. Don't feel that things that happen to you, they are awful just because they're happening at that moment. Try to go and ask for help so you can get a different perspective. Someone else is going to come and say like, well, I've been through that, so let me tell you my story. So again, this swoop was to sort of summarize all of the things that I learned, and I hope that you enjoyed the same way that I did. So wait, let me finish this swoop. Okay, so I just want to say goodbye and thank you one more time for joining us today. Don't forget to follow our podcast, sign up and subscribe for our YouTube channel as well, and don't forget to follow us in every social media that we have with Growth Mentor. Find us on LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn, and let's have a conversation. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Marcus, and I will see you next time. Cheers.